Every woman over 50 must do this exercise. Let's not talk about exercise. Not in the way you're expecting. Let's not roll out a mat, cue upbeat music, or count repetitions. Instead, let's talk about a quiet rebellion. A daily, deliberate act of claiming space, not just physical, but temporal, emotional, and existential space, in a world that often subtly whispers to a woman over 50 that her story's most vibrant chapters are behind her. This isn't about sculpting a body for a mirror or for anyone else's gaze. This is about building and maintaining the physical infrastructure for a life that continues to expand. The specific movement we will discuss is profound in its simplicity, but its true power lies not in the mechanics of muscle and bone, but in the statement it makes every single time you commit to it. Before we name it, let's understand the why that saturates every aspect of this. The silent shifts, understanding the terrain. A woman crossing the threshold of 50 is often navigating a landscape of quiet transformations. These aren't failures or declines, they are shifts in the tectonic plates of her being. Times the gravity of time, it's not just about metabolism. It's about the gradual, insidious loss of muscle protein synthesis. Sarcopenia, the loss of muscle mass and strength, begins as early as our 30s, but its consequences accelerate later. This isn't merely about toning. Muscle is metabolic currency. It's a glucose sink, a furnace for calories, and, most critically, it is your body's armor against frailty. Loss of strength is the single biggest predictor of lost independence. It's what turns a stumble into a fracture, a grocery bag into an impossible burden, a life lived out there into a life increasingly confined. Times the architecture of uprightness. Our posture is our biography, written in spines and hips. Decades of leaning over desks, cradling children, and compensating for old injuries reshape us. The pelvis may tilt, the shoulders may round forward, the head may drift ahead of the body, a posture called forward head carriage, which adds the equivalent of 60 pounds of strain on the cervical spine for every inch it protrudes. This isn't just an aesthetic concern, it compresses lungs, hinders digestion, and creates chronic pain cycles. It literally shrinks your physical presence in the world. Times the fluid of life. Connective tissue becomes less supple. Synovial fluid in joints may diminish. The very lubrication of movement changes. This isn't a call to stop moving, it's the urgent reason to move more wisely. Movement is the oil in the hinges. Times the unspoken catalyst. For many women, this era coincides with menopause. The decline in estrogen is a seismic event for the skeletal system. Estrogen is a guardian of bone density. Its retreat opens the door to osteopenia and osteoporosis. Bones become more brittle, silent, and unseen, until a moment of stress reveals their fragility. Strengthening bone requires controlled, impactful stress, the kind that comes from muscle pulling on bone. No medication, no supplement, is as potent or holistic as this direct, physiological demand. Beyond the purely physical lies the psychological and emotional terrain. This phase of life can be one of profound liberation. Children are grown, careers may peak or pivot, societal expectations loosen their grip. It is a time of potential unparalleled self-definition. Yet, to step into that expansive space requires a body that is a willing partner, not a limiting anchor. Confidence is not just a state of mind, it is a physiology. Standing tall, moving with assurance, feeling capable in your own skin, these are somatic experiences. They begin with physical competence. The keystone habit, more than a movement. Amidst the noise of complex fitness regimens, one fundamental pattern stands above all others for its systemic impact. It is not a bicep curl or a crunch. It is the hip hinge, and its most essential expression is the deadlift. Stay with me. The word deadlift might conjure images of grunting powerlifters and heavy barbells. Strip that away. At its core, the The deadlift is the primal human movement of lifting a weight from the ground with a flat back. It is picking up a grandchild, hoisting a suitcase, lifting a bag of potting soil, raising a heavy box to a shelf. It is, fundamentally, the movement of engaging with the world. When performed correctly, as a hip hinge, it is the single most potent corrective and protective exercise a woman over 50 can practice. Here is why it is non-negotiable. 1. It reteaches you how to move safely. The default for most people when picking something up is the spinal flexion strategy, a round-backed, squatty movement that places the entire load on the vulnerable discs of the lumbar spine. This is the primary mechanism for debilitating back injuries. The hip hinge retrains the nervous system. It teaches you to times initiate from the hips. You push your hips back, as if closing a car door with your rear. Times maintain a neutral spine. You keep the natural curves of your spine intact, from your neck to your tailbone, creating a powerful column. Times engage the posterior chain. You load the massive muscles of your back, the glutes, hamstrings, and lats. These are the engines of the movement, sparing your spine. This isn't just gym knowledge, it's life insurance. Every time you hinge to load the dishwasher, pet the dog, or pick up a dropped pen, you are protecting your back. 2. It fortifies your entire posterior chain. The muscles on the backside of your body are your anti-gravity system. They keep you upright. They are also the first to weaken with sedentary life. The deadlift directly targets times gluteus maximus, the body's largest muscle. Strong glutes are essential for pelvic stability, power in walking, and preventing lower back and knee pain. Times hamstrings, critical for knee health and hip extension. Times erector spinae, the muscles that line your spine, your built-in back brace. Times latissimus dorsi, the large back muscles that stabilize your torso. Strengthening this chain is like tightening the guy wires on a ship's mast. It pulls you into upright, confident posture. It counteracts the forward pull of modern life. 3. It is a foundation for bone density. Because it allows you to safely handle significant load which can start as light as a 5-pound kettlebell, the deadlift places beneficial stress on the entire skeletal system, the hips, the spine, the femurs. Bones respond to this demand by laying down more mineral, increasing density. It is targeted, weight-bearing exercise for the most vulnerable areas. 4. It cultivates raw, functional strength. This is strength you feel every day. It is the strength to move furniture, to carry all the groceries in one trip, to get up off the floor with ease and grace, a critical skill for longevity and independence. This strength directly translates into confidence. There is an undeniable empowerment in feeling physically capable. 5. It anchors your center. The act of bracing your core, setting your spine, and lifting from your center of mass is a profound exercise in mindfulness and somatic awareness. It requires you to be utterly present in your body. In a world that pulls your consciousness in 1,000 directions, the deadlift grounds you literally and figuratively in your own strength. From principle to habit. This is not about joining a CrossFit gym tomorrow. This is about integration. Here is how to weave this keystone habit into the fabric of your life. The Awakening Weeks 1 to 4, Learning the Pattern. Forget weight. Your only tools are your body and a broomstick or PVC pipe. Times the wall hinge. Stand with your back to a wall, feet about a foot away. Keep your head, shoulders, and entire back in contact with the wall. Now, slowly push your hips back, sliding down the wall, knees softening only as much as needed. Feel the tension in your hamstrings. Stop when you feel your lower back begin to peel away. Push your hips forward to return. This teaches the pure hip motion. Times the stick hinge. Hold the broomstick along your spine with one hand behind your head and the other behind your back. It should contact your head, your upper back, and your tailbone. Hinge forward, pushing hips back, maintaining all 3 points of contact. The moment you lose contact with your tailbone, you've rounded your back. This is your biofeedback device. Times practice daily. Do 2 sets of 10 to 15 perfect repetitions as part of your morning routine or while waiting for the kettle to boil. You are building neural pathways. The engagement weeks 5 to 8, adding load. Now we move from pattern to strength. Start with a lightweight kettlebell or dumbbell 8 to 12 pounds for most beginners. Times the kettlebell deadlift. Place the bell between your feet. Stand with feet hip width. Hinge back, keeping spine neutral, and grip the handle. Without rounding your back, drive through your heels, squeeze your glutes hard, and stand tall, pulling the bell with you. Think push the floor away rather than pull the weight up. Lower with control, pushing hips back first. Start with 3 sets of 8 to 10 repetitions, twice a week. Times focus on sensation. Feel the work in your hamstrings and glutes. Your back should feel solid and supported, not strained. Your breath is key. Inhale as you hinge down. Brace your core as if preparing for a gentle cough. Exhale as you stand. The integration ongoing, making it a cornerstone. Times frequency. Aim for 2 to 3 dedicated strength sessions per week, with the deadlift as your first exercise when you are fresh. Your times progression. The principle of progressive overload is gentle but non-negotiable. When 10 representatives feel easy, it's time to add a little weight, maybe 5 pounds. This consistent, gradual challenge is the signal your body needs to grow stronger and denser. Times pairing. Build a simple routine around it. After deadlifts, add times a pushing move, e.g., wall push-ups progressing to incline push-ups for chest and shoulders. Times a pulling move, e.g., banded rows to balance the pushing. Times a carry, e.g., farmer's walk with dumbbells for total body stability and grip strength. Times life as practice. Consciously apply the hip hinge to every bending moment in your day. See the world as your gym. Picking up the laundry basket? Hinge. Unloading the dishwasher? Hinge. Beyond the physical. Committing to this practice does more than change your body. It changes your relationship with your body and yourself. Times agency. In a culture obsessed with anti-aging as passive consumption creams, procedures, strength training is active authoring. You are not hiding the passage of time. You are using it, shaping it, building with it. You are the active subject of your life, not the object. Times resilience. The discipline of showing up for a session, especially when you don't feel like it, builds mental fortitude. You learn to negotiate with discomfort, to distinguish between the pain of injury and the intensity of growth. This resilience spills over into emotional and professional realms. Times community. While this can be a solitary practice, seeking guidance a few sessions with a qualified trainer who understands working with older adults is invaluable, or joining a small group class fosters connection. It breaks the isolation that can sometimes accompany this life stage. Times narrative reclamation. This act directly counters the narrative of decline. Every successful lift is a quiet "I am capable." Every increase in weight is a story of progress. You are no longer a character in a story of loss, but the author of a story of continuous becoming. The unflinching truths and gentle encouragements. It will not always be easy. Some days, joints will creak. Motivation will wane. Life will interrupt. This is not a linear journey. It is a practice, like meditation or kindness. Some points to hold. Times listen to your body, not your excuses. There's a difference. Sharp pain is a stop sign. General stiffness or reluctance is often a green light to move gently and work through it. Movement is medicine for stiffness. Times consistency over intensity. One perfect session a week, sustained for months, is infinitely more valuable than a furious burst followed by burnout and injury. Show up. Do the thing. Honor the pattern. Times nutrition is the companion. Strength is built in the kitchen as much as in the home gym. Ensure adequate protein intake. A target of 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight is now recommended for older adults engaging in resistance training to provide the raw materials for muscle repair and synthesis. Hydrate. Prioritize whole foods. Time sleep is non-negotiable. This is when repair happens. When recovery happens. When your body integrates the training stress and comes back stronger. Protect your sleep as fiercely as your training time. Times compare only to your past self. The fitness industry is a hall of mirrors reflecting unrealistic, often youthful, ideals. Your metric is this: can I lift this with better form than last month? Can I get off the floor more easily than I could 6 weeks ago? Do I feel more solid in myself? That is your victory. This, then, is the unspoken foundation. The hip hinge, the deadlift, is not merely an exercise. It is a physical prayer for continued participation in a vivid life. It is a bulwark against a contracted future. It is an act of defiance against the expectation of shrinking. It is the daily, physical reaffirmation of a truth you must feel in your bones, that your story is still being written, that your presence still demands space, that your strength, forged in decades of living, loving, and persevering, is now ready to be translated into a new kind of power. Not for show, but for substance. Not for yesterday, but for all the tomorrows you intend to meet on your feet, standing tall, capable of both great strength and great grace. This is the one thing. The keystone. The silent, powerful rebellion of a woman who knows that her foundation, now more than ever, must be unshakable. Start there. Build from there. The world is still waiting for you to pick it up.